Hey, how you doing today? Well, what are we up to today? Well, it's a pretty dismal, rainy day. Show you out here. Yep, everything's just wet and nasty. So, I wanted to talk about external breather system. The external breather system, or whatever you call it, everybody's talking about that with your Harley, and it's so that instead of the engine oil breathing back into your intake, you actually have an external breather system, and you change the bolts, you put it onto hoses and a little filter on it maybe to catch the oil if you don't want it just spewing out on the ground. And anyway, I've thought about it a lot, and we're going to look at a couple things, see if you find something interesting. Okay, so I've got an Arlen Ness big sucker air cleaner behind here, and we're going to take this apart and we're going to have a look. Okay, so we've taken the cover off, and now we're going to take these 3 bolts out here, take our air filter off. I've had this off many times before, and I'm sure most people are aware of how to take this off, but so I'm not going to film the whole thing. Okay, so we've taken the air filter off, and the first thing we can see is, set this down, you can see there's some oil there, okay? And the way Harley designs their engines now anyway, and to conform with emission standards, the inside of the engine builds up with pressure, and they have to release that pressure somehow. So the engine's designed so there's actually an opening in here. This is a hollow bolt that goes in here, and with that air pressure, let's call it, that comes out of the engine, sometimes you get a little bit of oil residue. So along with the bolt and into the breather, they've made like a tube all molded into the metal. Comes out right here. These little bumps here, any oil that might be mixed with the air would hit this and feed back into your intake, okay? So what people are doing is they're replacing these bolts with a different type of bolt that, rather than let it breathe through here, the bolt actually has a tube on it, or a fitting. And they'll put a rubber tube onto that, rubber tube onto here, put a little Y, run another tube, and then they'll run it down somewhere, and they'll either have it open to the air or they'll put a little filter on it. So now, rather than the oil feeding back into your intake, it feeds into the filter or on the ground or whatever. Why are they doing that? Well, people are saying, geez, I don't want this dirty oil going into my intake and being burnt off with my fuel. It's hard on the engine, first of all, builds up carbon, they say. You lose power because you want cold air in there rather than hot air mixed in. And I can see all that stuff, okay? So I watched a guy on YouTube, and they actually put the bike on a dyno. They dynoed it stock like this. While the bike was sitting on the dyno, they put the external oil breather on it, dynoed it again. Well, he gained like 1 horsepower and maybe like a couple foot-pounds of torque or whatever, because now you've got cold air mixing with the fuel, so there's more oxygen saturation in that, and you gain this power. It's awesome. Yeah, okay. Ask yourself, here's the bike, okay? This is a roadking, right? Now, am I drag racing it? No. So do I really care about gaining an extra 2 horse or whatever? Because my air-fuel mixture is more condensed and more pure, and it's burning better, and I'm gaining all this power. No. I ride on the highway. You know, I don't care. I'm not drag racing it. Now, back in the day, you're drag racing maybe in stock class, you're going to do shit like that. You're also going to polish all the intake internally. You're going to port and polish the heads. You're going to get a 3-angle valve job. Even this butterfly here, okay, you would shave off the edge. So rather than having a square edge, you can't really see it, but right on the edge there, it's square, right? Well, you would actually polish that down so it was a tapered, smooth surface, because you want air to flow smoothly through there. So this bump that's in here would be no good. You want it all to be smooth. You're drag racing it. Every bit of power and torque you can gain, you need it. No question. Ask yourself, do you need it? The answer is probably going to be no. Then they're saying, well, I don't want to feed this dirty old oil back into my engine. Well, hang on now. This oil is only as dirty as the oil that's down here in your engine, okay? Now this oil lubricates your crank, lifters, everything. It lubricates your cylinders. Your piston comes up, and as high as the piston goes to the top part, all the bottom of your cylinder is lubricated with that oil. So all you're doing now is adding the same oil to the top of the piston and to the cylinder. So now you're getting a little bit of lube on the top. And now your valves are getting a little bit extra lube. Yeah, it burns a little bit slower. You lose a couple horsepower. But does it really matter? Notice the inside of here. I've never cleaned this off, okay? This bike has over 70,000 miles on it. That's original. It's never been cleaned off. I've never gone in there and wiped it out. Is it all full of dirt and grime? No, it shouldn't be, because your filter seals on here. So the only air inside here is clean filtered air, other than what's coming through these, which is coming from inside your engine, which is what's all in the bottom of your engine anyway. So if you're getting black crap and stuff like that, like, change your oil, man. You're waiting too long between oil changes, okay? So, is there an advantage? Yeah. You'll gain a couple horsepower, a couple foot-pounds of torque. Are you actually going to notice that when you're cruising down the I-5 or whatever interstate at 80 miles an hour on an 850-pound bike? No, you're totally not gonna. Anyway, that's my rant for today. That's my 2 cents worth. So take it as you will, but that's my opinion. If you want to gain an extra 2 horsepower, yeah, knock yourself out. Is the way Harley designed the engine going to be harmful to the engine? No. Change your oil. That's all it needs. Ride safe.